Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today is the 25th of December 2023. Season of goodwill, peace, joy, merriment, and happiness, and the rest that is supposed to follow. Yet the innocent are still getting hurt. Children, aged, we are supposed to look after them. We as the people. We as the public, we as the human beings, and that's when the penny drops. The world has never been in more turmoil. Why am I making this podcast? Amongst many others, because for once I can prove, without a shadow of doubt, the corruption that lies within our state, within our executive, within our judiciary, goes from the Congress, from the Supreme Court down to the very grassroots level. So here it goes. For the past 10 years and more, the state of Georgia executive has tried and mostly succeeded in its endeavor to cancel Christmas for my family and I. But now I'm faced with a conundrum, a dichotomous conundrum. Alderman Ed Burke, a Chicago lawyer and alderman, a powerful persona in his own right from the state of Illinois, and husband of state Supreme Court Justice Ann Burke, she resigned her seat in 2022, has been found guilty of 14 out of 15 filed charges for attempted extortion, corruption, and racketeering. Burke was found guilty of 1 count of racketeering, 2 counts of federal program bribery, 2 counts of attempted extortion, and 8 counts of using interstate commerce to facilitate an unlawful activity. Burke is now the 38th member of the Chicago City Council to be convicted of a crime since 1968. Racketeering is a word you will hear quite often in this podcast as it relates to the state of Georgia executive, which has the dubious record of consistently starring and being ranked by the U.S. Department of Justice as one of the most corrupt in the U.S. for the past 2 decades and more. How does this reflect on the competence of the DOJ itself? After all, they are the ones to hold guilty accountable, or are they? I'm still waiting for Agent McCabe of the FBI to come back with a response after spending close to 4 hours at the FBI headquarters in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Each time response comes that we do not discuss open cases. What cases? No one even bothered to ask for files of evidence, taking into consideration that Agent McCabe spent over 2 hours speaking with my attorney and I. Also, a point to note that my attorney happens to be an extremely competent lawyer who is held in high regard by her peers in Europe and in Georgia, academic and otherwise, and she is trained and certified by the Honorable Society of King's Inns, Dublin, Ireland. The DOJ, Department of Justice, Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark wrote to Senator John Ossoff's office stating she had closed my file after due consideration, stating that she had found no breaches of federal law having been occurred. Senator John Ossoff's office had promised they will do anything and everything for justice to prevail. Since that letter came to the fore about 6 months ago, nobody answers my calls, nobody returns my calls, nobody returns my emails from Senator John Ossoff's office. The very same was referred to the DOJ at the same time by Senator Warnock's office, and Ms. Brooke Doss is regularly in touch with the said department, which repeatedly states that the case is still under review. That's 2 years gone. Close to 4 years gone with the FBI. It appears that intellect and common sense have long fled the state of Georgia after pleading mental defect and incapacity to perform due to ethical exhaustion and moral fatigue, inclusive of the feds. It appears Christmas is coming for me after all. The mighty and the corrupt are having great difficulty keeping their pants on, especially my favorites, the egregiously corrupt members of the U.S. faculty and practice in law. Many more lawyers have bit the dust. Just ask President Trump and his team. But the state of Georgia and its demagogues, for some ungodly reason, remain Teflon coated and trouble free. Not one of their team from the state executive has been tried, convicted, and faced the rigors of law. Why? I have no idea, because the proof I'm gonna provide verbally and in court documents is plentiful in black and white. Common sense, common decency, sense of accountability, and law appears to have taken flight. Governor Brian Kemp, then Secretary of State in 2015-16, his staff attorney, Candace Brose, Director of Legislative Affairs, Chuck Harper, and his special advisor were made aware of documented corruption before he took residence in the gubernatorial office. Governor Nathan Deal, Chris O'Reilly, their offices were informed by Representative Chad Nimmer, who was one of Governor Deal's floor leaders and held in high regard and described by Governor Brian Kemp as he is the governor now, that he's a good man to have on team because he is powerful. He made representations to the gubernatorial office, and after a couple of visits he was told in no uncertain terms to stay out of it. It is a matter of no concern to him. All and sundry have concurred with facts as presented to them by myself that I'm 100% correct. They all point finger at corruption, deep-seated and deep-rooted corruption amongst the judiciary, the gubernatorial office, and the legislative of the state of Georgia. It is amazing that now the very same team that occupied Secretary of State Brian Kemp's office have now become unapproachable since he took the gubernatorial office. Mr. Grant Thomas, the special advisor to Governor Kemp, spoke with my attorney and informed her that the file had been referred to the appropriate official in the gubernatorial office. Then, nada. Nothing. This is what happens. They close the doors on you. At least, God rest his soul, George Floyd is gone. Took him 8 minutes. His family suffered. They are still suffering. And I'm sure hundreds and thousands more. I am one of them. Now, there is another mystery from state of Georgia executive that needs resolution. While President B-Day sprays in all directions, try to wash and clean dirty bums all around him. Family, friends, and associates are all included, be it the Congress or the pillars or participants in the public fest of self-indulgence, loosely named as our representatives, politicians, state officials. GOP and Trump are so mired in defecation of their own passing, they have no clue how to clean their filth in public, and private for that matter. And then, here comes along poor pitiful me. I have some education, 5 degrees to my name, all European, thank God, and was held in high regard amongst government corridors of power in Ireland and at times in the UK. Here's the problem. I'm neither white who can claim sovereign immunity, nor am I black who can claim sovereign victimity in the state of Georgia and proceed to claim the state executive being guilty of gratuitous corruption at my expense. I may be a US citizen, but I'm guilty of any and every crime The problem is, I'm right on every aspect. I have consulted with former judges, sitting judges, academics, the highest authorities in law, and people of common sense. And guess what? I am right. But here lies the problem. As they all said, who do you turn to? I have expended every avenue of government, of executive in the past 10 years. I do not give up easy. My constitutional rights were long flushed down the DeKalb sewage system with the help of corrupt judiciary et al. Judge Azahar F. Jackson, take a bow, as the initiator of what was to become a saga of egregious judicial corruption, abuse of office, and abdication of duties bestowed upon one as a jurist. Why did I refer to her as Azahar? Well, any fool can read. Her name is Asha. The very same when I was in front of her, when I appeared in front of her, not only was she incompetent, rude, and knew nothing about judicial etiquette, she called me Shoel. Now, let's go with elementary school. S-O, so, H-A-I-L, hail, so hail. Wow, that is so difficult, isn't it? Latin, Greek, mixed. So, hail, what kind of name is that? You know what? It's Shoel. Because I'm a judge, I can say and I can do whatever I like. What are you going to do? Sue me? So, the same tone you're going to find as we talk along. And you are, well, if you are prepared to put up with me, I shall speak nothing but the truth. I do not accuse anybody of anything unless I can prove it. I do not allege anything unless it's a reality, it's a fact. And I will stand by my word no matter what. People in the highest authority in UK and Ireland, especially Ireland, they will vouch for that fact. I have been called, oh, him, he's a genius, he's a maverick, or that effing bastard. So it very much depends on who you speak with. I have had the privilege of being in the company of prime ministers, presidents, Supreme Court judges, law reform commissions, homeless people, dual diagnosis, triple diagnosis, pedophiles, murderers, you name it, done it. Over 20,000 clinical hours in the corridors, in the potholes of mental health, high and low. Yet, state of Georgia has tried to treat me like a piece of crap. I'm still here. I ain't no George Floyd. You still have your knee across my throat, but I'm still breathing. Everything I allege, evidence for the same I have plentiful, and has been put on griftersnet.com for all to peruse, despite the general American populace having deficient ability in literacy skills, as often told in the media. Thanks to our wonderful, inept, and often corrupt education system, one of the worst in the world, if not in possession of intellect or literacy skills, please, I beg of you, seek help from someone who has been lucky to possess some literacy, intellect, and a little bit of common decency goes a long way. And it helps us on a journey to find out who we truly are as human beings. Not humans, human beings. Because at present and in the past I've found that some of the animals portray better stability as a human than we do, better competence than we do, better decency than we do. So we have sunk so far down the gutter, we don't even know what it means to be human, never mind be a human being. That's why human life has no worth, neither worth nor value. Dogs do, cats do. Look at the people around you. They respect their pets. As for humans, say what? Yeah, that's the most popular phrase. We don't do that. Say what? That brings to mind the fabulous NBCC, National Board for Certified Counselors, which dispenses exams for measurement of a certified counselor's ability to practice as required by state licensing boards. They're based in North Carolina. It is beyond belief that such an incompetent and corrupt organization has been bestowed with the responsibility to conduct exams for professional competence. Mental health. Everybody talks about it, everybody needs it, and a friend of mine who was a pioneer in counseling and set up the counseling services within the National Universities of Ireland. God bless you, Jim Byrne. You've been a good friend. I should have listened to you more. When he advised that I was facing burnout, go where nobody knows you. And we were talking about the masters, and he said, hey, George is a quiet place. But beware. 50% of Americans, they have mental health issues. The other 50% don't know it yet, but they're on medication. And the other 50%, thanks to the American education, do not know what the hell I am about to talk about. Well, hats off to you, Jim. You were right. The simple math is 100%, but in America it is 110%, 120%, 150%, and God knows where it goes till you need psychotropic medication. Judges, they're self-medicating. Surgeons, they're self-medicating. Politicians, they're self-defecating. And the rest of us, we are covered in the poop by the collective we refer to as the executive. The Congress, the Senate, the White House, the US Supreme Court. If you have your ears and your eyes open, and you have a single gray cell between your ears, I dare you to challenge me for what I'm about to say. The proof, I have put it out in black and white on griftersnet.com. So, back to the NBCC. They do not know the correct answers to their own questions, especially legal ones that are written in stone and not open to interpretation. Evidence is there for all to see on griftersnet.com. So now, here it goes. But first, what the hell is Matt Groening waiting for? Why can't you add more characters to Simpsons? NBCC, Nathan Deal, Brian Kemp, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and their Supreme Court team are all crying out for Christmas pantomime roles. On December 20th, 2023, an Oklahoma judge ruled that Glenn Simmons, an innocent man, a black man, irony, who wrongfully spent over 48 years in prison for murder, is found innocent. Another dubious record for the great US legal system. How low is the US to sink in the sewer before someone takes charge? I just happened to come across a lady called Lindsay Glazer. She was talking on NPR. She's a former trial lawyer and tenured law professor turned comedian. They go hand in hand, law and comedy. Farce makes brilliant comedy, just in case you didn't know. Truth creates a brilliant script for farce and comedy. Hand in hand is the best laugh you ever gonna have, unless you happen to be George Floyd and every last breath is eking out of your body, and you lie there helpless, and the only words that come out of your mouth is to cry for help from God bless her, your mother who gave you life, while everybody else is taking the last iota of life out of your helpless body. Welcome to the great and the good US of A. Lindsay Glazer is described as a comedian with sharp wit and maximum presence. She confesses to never ever had a script writer and gained her scripts from 20 years of teaching and practicing law. Evidence will follow, I promise, and I always keep my promises.